No man's land.
Means no man can cross it, all right? This battalion has been here for nearly a year, and they barely gained an inch. All right, because on the other side, there are a bunch of Germans pointing machine guns.
Has anyone been in the situation where you told, you can't do this?
So what? So we do nothing?
No one's done it before.
We are doing something. We are. We can't save everyone in this war. This is not what we came here to do.
Being told what you can and can't do. And now, you pull your hair down. Kind of sexy, right? I think it's okay to say that.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
And do you feel you put your armor on and you have to make a decision in your career and in your job just to go out and say, I know I can do it? And everybody looks at you like, what? Are you crazy? Many people feel as though they have everything falling apart around them, but they're expected to get the job done. You have to have your armor on. You have to be prepared. And people looking from behind. You pick up your speed, hoping others might follow. And the right allies do come. Some, not so much. So, not starting on a negative, but a positive. Many women in business, and I actually took this clip from someone that presented on it in a diversity, equity, and inclusion session in Orlando at the Brandon Hall event. Really inspiring, and I've watched it a couple of times. This entire presentation will be put back up online, and I strongly encourage anyone and everyone to download it, to take it, and to use it. And feel free to reach out to myself or Candace. We'll enable and empower you to be able to deliver on the topic of women in learning, gender equality, and inclusion. So really want to just kick it off and say, people in the room, does anyone ever feel like Diana, the Wonder Woman, feeling as though you have to kind of charge ahead, do things that you're told you're not supposed to be able to do, or you can't? Sadly, you can't do it. We'll have a number of the 30 and under 30s come up. I know they're grabbing lunch. They're going to join in and be part of this dialogue as well. I'm just going to go to the deck now. And we'll start here, and we'll explain what you got yourselves into for coming into this event here. So this is the Women in Learning 2023. It is a pivotal year, and it makes me a little sad to see that this was really hard to physically get to session in the past when we've been on the same layer as where the lunch and the other activities are. We've had up to 150 to 200 people. It doesn't matter how many people are in the room. It matters how many people get the message and how we can actually pledge this to go forward. So this is who I am. I'm Sharon Claffey-Caliubi, co-founder of #WomenInLearning with Kate Graham, who was a pivotal point and a pivotal person for this event. She couldn't make it this year, but we support and we constantly mention this. These ladies here, we actually had dinner, and there's Christine's out in the room, and Carrie sent us stuff. We met at this event and said, what we talked about in our dinner with executives matters, and it really pushed us to push the agenda of women in learning forward. And we as a group have presented a couple of times with panels, and now virtually you'll see the presence as well as the trailblazers here. This was just last year when we were working with the 30 under 30s. There's been a year or two or three of virtual meetings and discussion. The hybrid events get up to 93 people. We usually get at least 30 to 40 or 50 actively talking about this topic of women in learning. And then we have Stella up top there, and then last year's session. So it's really important that we've taken the conversation of women in learning and we've brought it out to the masses. And that's something that we're going to be focusing on right now. And we're going to take a unique and different direction than we ever have with our next introduction to Candace. Candace, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Good afternoon, everybody. It's really cool to be here. So a huge thanks to Sharon and Don for inviting me to come and chat with you today. I'm not a traditional L&D person. It's not the industry I came into. I'm actually a skin therapist by trade, and I've sort of fallen into education and training from a slightly different perspective. But I hope that what I can share today, a little bit about the journey of the company I work for, Dermalogica, can share some insights, and we can draw some parallels which can perhaps help with this conversation around gender equity and what we can do to actually have impact and how we can move the narrative forward, and we can do things that help the generations that come beyond, after us. So can I just, by way of show of hands, how many of the people in the room have actually heard of Dermalogica before? Oh, wow. Amazing. So you know Dermalogica is a skincare brand, but did you know that Dermalogica started out as an education company? And that we were actually an education company before we were a product brand. So Dermalogica was actually launched as the International Dermal Institute. We're celebrating 40 years of the International Dermal Institute this year. Really as a way for skin therapists to be able to access ongoing training, because at the time you would come out of your vocational trade skills training, but there wasn't anything for you to update your skills, carry on learning, move with the industry, explore new techniques. And so that's why the International Dermal Institute was formed. But of course, our founder is an incredible woman. Her name's Jane Werwind, and I highly recommend her book. Her book is called Skin in the Game, and if you are interested in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial stories, she's an incredible read. She's a wonderful woman. But her focus was really about how do we help people have a skill set training that can allow them to develop financial independence. And particularly, this is a big topic of conversation for women, because a lot of women's choices are limited by whether they have the financial means to do something different. And if you look at some of the global statistics, there's all sorts of interesting things about women's access to capital, how much of the wealth in the world is in the hands of women. There's lots of conversations around that. But as an industry, the skincare and beauty industry is actually an economic powerhouse for female entrepreneurship. And that really became very central to the mission of the International Dermal Institute and Dermalogica, is how can we facilitate, through skill set training, greater financial independence for women to be able to own their futures. And so that's essentially what we do. And I don't know if any of you know that actually the British Beauty Council have just released their latest 2023 Value of Beauty report. And that report they did in collaboration with Oxford Economics. And the beauty industry actually contributed 24.5 billion to the UK economy last year, which is actually more than hospitality. And in terms of kind of economic growth, the beauty industry has actually registered 25% more SMEs between 2015 and 2022, and at a 5 times greater rate than manufacturing in the same period. And beauty businesses are in the top 10 retail businesses currently in the UK. So why is any of that relevant? Because 80% of the beauty industry's workforce are women. And it's an incredible, as I said, powerhouse of what can be achieved, and it's an incredibly successful. Oh, can I do the clicker? Yes. Or you can do the clicker?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Here.
So, what are we doing at Dermalogica? Well, at Dermalogica, this is kind of our mission and our focus is how can we facilitate, through education and training and hands-on skill sets, a way forward for women where they can be more successful, they can be entrepreneurs, they can own their own businesses, they can progress their careers, and they can own their futures, as it says there. And, you know, working at that local level of micro businesses, and then how that then scales and has impact, you know, on a more global perspective.
And the statistics are relevant for L&D because we have almost 70% of women in learning and development. However, we're not doing the same successful end game of the financial independence and saying that we're out earning the men that are in the industry and things like that. So I think it's a great analogy to see where there is success in a very female-oriented and full type of sector.
Absolutely. Excuse me. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about our industry. I'm pretty sure that you have all your stereotypes in your head, you know, pink lady, beauty school dropout, not too super intelligent, couldn't do anything better with their career, they opted out and did beauty. I'm sure you've heard it all. I'm sure many people probably still hold those views. But I can tell you what we're doing. We're working really hard to smash through those preconceived ideas and those barriers. We do that through training. We do that through skill sets. Yes, we're a product brand. Yes, we train you how to use our product. Yes, we train you how to do our services, but we underpin that with skills, because when we do that, we elevate expertise, and when we elevate expertise, we elevate reputation, and we change the narrative. And when you start to have confidence in somebody because of their expertise and their skills, then we can start to talk about success and how we move the dial on things.
Exactly.
So that's our story, and I hope that we're going to have some really cool conversations today.
Yeah, it fits right into the agenda here. We want to be moving the needle. The needle is moving. You'll see some of the stats on that. It's time for action. Everyone in this room, you're going to be rolling up your sleeves. My sleeves are already rolled up, and we're going to be having you all create the impact that it means to you. So ideally, you come to a session like this, you might hear a really neat story. You might say, oh, but that's not my world. We particularly decided to have Dermalogica here to say, here's a great story of success. Now let's see the transfer in a very equally female-oriented situation here. We're going to then talk to the future of women in learning. We're going to talk about the 30 under as well as the 30 over, and then look at some statistics and then pledge. And this is, it was brought up earlier, not pledge for a sorority or pledge for anything else. We're going to make an impact today that has never been made. I think 2020, we had a group really close to where the food was, and we all were like, women in learning. Like, we roared, and everybody heard us. But that was 2020, and there's a lot that's happened since 2020. So we're going to do a different type of roar when we look at this. The statistics here, and I'll get out of the limelight right here as a facilitator. That's my worst fear, is being in the light, right? You look at these stats. This slide was created by a Women in Learning panel. When I did it, I woke up the next day, and there were real relevant stats that went beyond the global or the North American. We have UK stats here about women in business. Christine, I'm going to have you raise your hand. You were one of the women that did it that time. And the other three women are with us in many of the information and stats we have. I'm going to recommend you think about doing that in your jobs. You recommend speaking about this, but whenever you do, bring in folks that have built you up along the way and help build and elevate other folks around you. These are the old stats. We have tons of graphs on stats that you can get in the addendum. I'm not going to go through it. It got really dire. It got really sad. In 2018, I thought we were making a massive impact. I'd been talking about this area with many, many great learning leaders that were women and allies as men. And we actually dropped from 2015 to 2018. And that would have been, really the kickoff was 2011. And the conversation on this started out of a conference, Elliott Macy's conference, Learning 2011. I jumped in 2013. We had stats. Don Tiller was great to get some of these stats. The pool of folks there wasn't shifting much. So I had to search everywhere. And for the first time ever in the last decade, the number looks a little bit better. It looks actually going even above what it was in 2015. Now, it's a North American, a US company, and I don't know if it's exaggerated. So I'm going to ask all of you right now, please take a note, email yourself. Can folks find any other stats on the percentage of chief learning officers in this industry, women versus men, and even what age group, what unique notifiers are on this area? We need to find out. I believe we are now at the pivotal point of the needle moving in the positive direction. I just don't want to get too excited. Ted Lasso was mentioned at one of the sessions before. We, as a group, stereotypically Americans are very positive, right? Including myself at times. But I don't want to push it unless it's really happening. And I scoured everywhere to debunk this, and I could not find that. When we look at statistics about the global gender gap, though, numbers got from 108 years to 132. That's just depressing. We're not going to stay long here because we can't stand to have something like that out there. Those other stats are below. This is very, very cool stuff. We are in the news. Has anyone heard of the She Session? It's stated a lot in the US. It is a global situation where women are feeling exhausted, unpaid, and there's statistics that the business leaders can stop this from happening. There's about a third of the exiting workforce. They had 816,000 women in 2021 were exit. I love how they say you've exited it, because we're all loaded and we're all sitting back and we're getting on our couch and we're watching TV with bonbons. Most women are not voluntarily exiting. You have to really dig at the numbers, but it feels a little better if we're saying that they're shifting and changing. We can stop this. We see that women were mostly in the front line of COVID, and they had 0 to almost no voting rights on the direction as to how it was handled. And then the burnout, there's this exhaustion, and it's really falling most heavily on ethnic minority women, not just women in general. And that's a whole other area that we've taken, and sometimes an entire session dedicated to the fact that we need to be acknowledging and not just talking about it, but walking the talk as to what to do about this. We're going to do a bit of that too today. When we look at creating our own buzz, Carrie was part of that first picture there. She couldn't make it, work priorities. We had another woman that's going out on maternity leave. They've all inputted on this deck. I've never seen a deck so chock full of information, because it's not my deck and it's not the organizers. It's Candace and I talking, and Candace bringing a fresh light to this, as well as Carrie saying that, and we're going to change this today. In this room, get ready, we are making a change. We are going to change that as women age, they get less active on LinkedIn. So if anyone follows me on LinkedIn, I act like I'm Peter Pan and I'm probably 12 or 13. I do it professionally, and I didn't do it before. I was given permission at the organization that I work at to say, okay, so you own hashtag Women in Learning with Kate Graham, did it great. We're good with that. We want that. So most companies have a strong agenda towards DE&I or ED&I. They want the gender equality, equity. They want the diversity. They want the inclusion. And it was once explained to me that equity is a metric, a measurement, inclusion is a feeling, and diversity is an identity. And when you think of it that way, you go back and say, I need to get more active on LinkedIn. And I promise people know if you pop in because you're looking for a job, no, don't do that. We're starting today where whatever age you are at, whatever stage you are at in your career, we need to keep the numbers up so people know we are here, that we have a voice. Allies are great indicators too. We have Andrew here, we'll have Ian, he's an ally, and we'll have Nigel Payne jumping in later. It's very important to make that presence known. It's Trailblazer time. This is the time we are going to get you all out there to work together, to bond. So the Trailblazers, could you please all stand? And some of them aren't able to be in the room, but those that are here. All right, these are amazing people. I'm gonna just flip to who they are, and you're gonna wonder, why are we doing this? And do we have any of the 30 under 30s here yet? Yes, excellent. They too will be spread among them. I'm gonna ask that the 30 under 30s, that at least 3 of you, if not 4, jump to one of the Trailblazers once we get this set up. We are looking now for impact statements. So enough of us talking about it at you. Great example with Dermalogica. Oh no, I need you to still keep standing. Sorry guys. I told you we're gonna be working hard. When we look at Esther, Esther was with the 30 under 30 group, incredibly impressive. She really said her impact was the deep understanding of the inequalities in various perspectives, helping to propel underrepresented groups. This is all important here. Andrew, can you raise your hand? It's pretty obvious who you are, but yes. At the end of an event just in Learning 2022, Andrew was amazing. We had a Women in Learning panel, traditional panel, and at the end, he said, would anyone want to be part of the podcast? And me being me, I said, can we do it now? We took an hour Women in Learning panel to 3 hours, and Andrew will be sharing that. We'll have that listed in the report out. He did a podcast with 12 of us, I think. And it was awe-inspiring. It rejuvenated. We did pictures about it later. And when you hear what the women from all walks of life, stage, age, were talking about, absolutely amazing. We have Christine that I just pointed out before here, make the most out of people's talent, thinking of others, elevating other people. Nigel will be coming in. Anyone not know Nigel? He has been such an ally and mentor to so many women in this industry. Michelle, who is an author, she's right there. Amazing. We need to elevate. I went to a bookstore at Learning Solutions in the US and said, is there a section for the women authors? And the women said, you know, it's a good point. Most of our authors are women. I go, do we ever highlight that? Do we ever put that out there? Maybe we start asking of the books and many of the resources that you see. Annalyn, we met when she was a 30 under 30. I lost you. There she is. She's amazing. We bonded over experiencing a conference in the States where she was a 30 under 30. I was illustrating it, and she really has done quite a bit with diversity, equity, and inclusion in regard to her career, not just in her statement. So through action, Teresa Rose, we've connected through online. The support that I felt from you, you didn't put it up there, but it's 100% what's felt, and 99% of your clients were women in one of these examples. What is your impact statement? Good question, right? Well, I'm gonna ask the Trailblazers, could you each get to a corner of the room? We have space here, and the room has filled up. I hope everyone got food. Otherwise, I'm gonna ask Don Tila to make sure we have food in here, bring snacks up. The 30 under 30s, can you disperse where the Trailblazers are? And I'm gonna ask everyone in the room, gather up to one of the Trailblazers. You've seen some of their thoughts up here. And I'm gonna ask you to talk about what your impact statement would be. And you can think of it through these questions. We've got some guidelines here, but we will be giving you 10 minutes, if not more, to create your impact statement. And we're gonna wrap it up with doing something in social media that has never been done before. So you all are gonna be part of history. So with that, I'm putting the timer on. Please go to your Trailblazer. So I'm just going to ask that the 30 under 30s in each of the sections, if you could just write a little summary of what you're hearing in that area. I'm going to ask you to be reporting back to me on it, as well as the Trailblazers. To get a general idea of what some of the impact might be individually, take notes on your phone. What is your impact? All right, guys, stay in your groups. You can even settle there as we finish up. I'm going to ask that one of the 30 under 30s from each group be decided, come up and sit up here from each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6, but 5. So one of the 30 under 30s, just to give a general, at the very end, we're going to hear from each of the 30 under 30s what you just talked about. We're going to get through a couple more slides, and Candace right here was jumping up and down. She left something out, and we're going to have her close the session with this amazing, I told her it was awe-inspiring. You don't know it till you're in this room and you experience this. So the 30 under 30 folks, could you just come up here? You'll get a seat. Someone will have to sit on the edge. We'll be fine. Come on up. That's going to make it easier because they're going to be recording some of this stuff. And then everybody else, settle back wherever you want.
I'm hungry. Hello. I know.
Here's our clicker. I lost the clicker.
I was not expecting this.
I love the buzz. So very important, if you've created your own impact statement or you want to include it in the notes, please email me. We'll keep it anonymous if you like. Let's capture these impact statements. This is the first time impact of audience has ever been recorded. and a Women in Learning, potentially even within any learning conference. Has anyone all been asked to share their impact of a particular topic? What we also want to do is we want to understand where we're at with this industry in regard to the folks in it. So we have an amazing, the 30 under 30 folks that are, well, we see 5 up here. Anyone else out in the audience here? Do we have just enough? Stand up, please, if you're a 30 under 30. Thank you. Thank you for being here. That really matters. We also have, yes. We also have something regarding the seasoned employee. We don't talk about age in the US. I'm so excited when I come over here and I see it all over the news and things like that. The seasoned employee. Is there anyone out there that thinks that maybe a 30 over 30 group would be cool? Anyone? All right, I've been pitching for it for about 30 years. No. 60. Hey, Leslie. Hi. Yes, this is really, really important, and we need to make this a component. Imagine the impact we'd have with the 30 under 30 and the 30 over 30s in a think tank. Amazing 60 group. So I'm going to ask to the 30 under 30s, is this all still true? We heard the fact that you don't walk with your feet, you walk with your, no, you don't walk with your mouth, you walk with your, all right, I'm gonna get this straight. Not my strong suit. So Gen Zers are actually the group that doesn't, you walk with your feet, you leave if you don't like where you're at. And that's never been in a generation before. And we've been having conversations. There's a really neat way, I'll put it out online, exactly what I should have said on that. Don't walk. Anyways, we'll figure it out. But you exit. And I know I have 2 in my own house that have done it. Here's the best thing I ever heard from my daughter that wasn't even sure of what I did for the last few years. She said, Mom, I think it's time for me to move on, because if you're not earning and you're not learning, there's no reason to be there. So learning and earning, I hear it from my 24-year-old. And the others, they're all, your generation, I think, is going to keep that needle being pushed. And I think it's the other generation, the seasoned, the 30 over 30s, 60 over 60, that are going to continue and support the momentum is what we need on this. Women empowerment, this is all what we're talking about. The slides will explain this, but even in the world of NGOs. So I've said it before, it's not just the right thing to do, it is the profitable thing to do. And here's a combo hit of where that's being done. We have empowering women leaders. These are solutions that are going out, and if companies aren't creating it, your companies or others ask for it, demand it. We have a great conversation here on the word that we never say in the US, menopause. And most recently, as I was taking a flight out, I actually saw it on the TV, and I swear to God, people scattered. The place that this is gonna really grow and start from, I think, is the UK, Europe. Because I've never seen so much healthy, good, adequate, informational news on a topic of maybe the 30 over 30s, but it goes all ages. This course was created by a 27-year-old that's just left to go on maternity leave, and this was her top priority when she joined. Yet, she felt a little uncomfortable about going for the 30 under 30 position. So it doesn't stop people from being bright, but we need to push and elevate people so that women especially, that they can do all this. We're gonna ask you to make a pledge. And with that, we're gonna ask you, for the first time ever, to put the hashtag out. Before we jump to this, and I didn't wanna miss this slide, this, if you take a picture of anything, this is it. I used to say, send a note or an email to somebody, that a woman that is in your life that you can support. We have some great allies here, but what we're gonna ask, before you leave this room, we're gonna ask that you put this type of a pledge out there. Is your pledge to increase equity? Is it to be more included, to elevate any of the women that you see here? Could someone take a picture of this? This is awesome. That we have people that are new to the industry being led and taking notes and supporting, and I'd love to get our trailblazers up here as we wrap this up. Before we get the trailblazers up here with our wonderful folks that are gonna read back, I'm gonna ask with the mic here, think about what your pledge is gonna be, folks. I'm giving you a little bit of time. Thank you. So sharp. And just share with us in a brief, maybe one sentence, highlight of your impact statements that were being chatted about, or your brief summary on that.
Okay, so our brief summary was actually just looking at everyone in this room. There's 6 men in the room out of all these women. How do we increase the allyship from men to back us and support us? Because we know that from the statistics, the men are in those leadership positions, and for the women to get there, we need that collaboration.
We just clap for the support? Because I've led this dialogue for a decade, and at no point did I ever hear people say, the men got in the way. There's been process, institutions, things like that, but it's been men that have sponsored. The one thing, sadly, that has gotten in the way for some people sometimes is other women. So let's shift that with the empowerment, and let's acknowledge and build our allyship. And we'll be reaching out to even finding out how we do more of that.
We actually had another suggestion as well.
Of course, I said brief.
Sorry, no, sorry. Just
I don't mind if you guys
a
don't
challenge,
mind.
I guess, to like the session itself. It's called Women in Learning, and we talked in our group around how many of the women would attend a session called Men in Learning. So perhaps is there something in the title of the session that can be catchy?
Great thing. We did
bring
change
people
it.
on.
We did accelerating your career, and it didn't really make a difference. We see mostly women show up to this stuff, and then it was like we felt guilty for bringing it up. Once again, I've seen a Women in Learning type of conference at one point, and they didn't even have all women speakers. However, 90% of the time, there was a conference, a woman that was supposed to be here, a trailblazer, Celine Mullins, Dr. Celine. She was actually at a conference where there was only 3 women leading the main stage. We still haven't gotten on the main stage yet, guys. What do you think? Maybe next year? I don't know. I'm just saying. So if you could pass that.
Okay, so we had kind of 3 core things that we discussed. One of them was network, so just empower yourself to know how to network, leverage your network, make connections between your network, be that person. And we had a lovely lady who is known as the queen of networking in her long career.
Yes! Did you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we did. The second thing was all about are you making a conscious action towards changing women in leadership and the kind of notions that are done around that? So for example, you might have a campaign around Women's International Day, but what is the significant impact after that? And we shared about the power of 10. So what does that look like? Are you actively joining in that and making movement towards that and sharing the impact over time of the sorts of awareness that you're bringing and the actions that you're taking to make changes?
Great.
And the third and last thing was about, oh my gosh.
It's okay. We'll come back.
Yeah.
I do want to say something. I have a ton of stuff with her story and all this. Let's start posting. I still think it's wonderful to have International Women's Day and to have a month where we highlight it, but let's do a research. This was important in March. What are we doing to continue? And I promise we'll come back.
Yeah,
We'll come back to you.
I actually remember it if you
Great.
want it really quick. Culture of trust, honesty, openness. So start talking about the barriers in women's leadership and start educating and looking at what skills are they, how can we foster and cultivate and nurture them for everyone in the workplace and address those.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
There you go. Thank you.
Hi. So we were with the brilliant Annalyn, and just to give you a little bit of context before I start with the 3 key takeouts, she basically was told that women don't sound credible in sales, we need to hire more men.
I've heard there's no women in sales too.
Yeah.
Who is the brilliant leader?
Annalyn, just there.
Annalyn. Excellent.
So there were 3 takeouts I had from our discussion, and the first is that imposter syndrome is structural and not individual. So we often kind of feel like we internalize it, we blame ourselves, it's isolating, but actually it's about the structures around us. The second one is to lead with vulnerability, to make sure that we have tangible, visible leaders who are role models for us and who are really open and transparent, as you said. And then the last one is diversify forms of allyship. So, you can be the interrupter at the time. Oh, I believe that Diksha was saying something here actually, or you could be the researcher getting the stats and behind the scenes, or you could be the community builder. Are you okay? Let's check in. Let's make sure that we've got the nurturing there as well. So I think those are the 3 takeouts from our discussion.
Cool.
Thank you, Annalyn.
And in brief words, sorry to make it brief, but they're going to kick us out too, so.
No, not at all. So the things we talked about was primarily just being your authentic self. Don't feel like you have to hide any traits that are seen as traditionally feminine and therefore traditionally weak. Bring your authentic self, set the example that you want other women to follow, and celebrate other women when they do well. We're not in competition with each other. Every single time a woman moves up a position, that will create more spaces for women as well. So just celebrate each other.
Exactly, and be aware that it might not work. If it doesn't, it's not the company for you.
Yes.
If they're going to do that, there's articles as to why. Okay, we know why. You only put one up, move out. They'll see that we'll be walking with our feet, right?
100%.
We had a lot of repetitions, exactly what you said on authenticity and embracing all of these generous feminine qualities, as well as giving visibility in certain roles like consulting and sales, and inclusivity through equitable opportunity.
Great. And okay, my favorite for last, I'm sorry. Fumi and I worked together. She presented to the 30 under 30s last year, and then had the guts and the courage to be able to apply to something like this. So just, sorry, super proud.
Sorry,
But-
I just wanted to say, one of the things that came out from talking to the 30 under 30s last year, and we discussed in our groups, is the whole idea of women supporting other women. I must admit, when I applied for my job, I was terrified of having a manager that was a woman, whose manager was also a woman. And it's one of those things where once you're in the right space now, I think this is so amazing because representation matters, and that's what we discussed. Having that example to follow and being the example as well as we move up makes all the difference, and it does matter. It's not virtue signaling, representation matters, and that's kind of what we discussed in our group with the lovely Teresa. So
Excellent.
yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to ask right at this moment, please, everyone go to social media, please, and go to LinkedIn. Ladies, stay there. And if we could have the Trailblazers at the end come up, I'd love to have a picture of this, because this is part of the hashtag. So Trailblazers, maybe let's make it easy. If you could stand up here, we'll have the rest of the group take a picture of the hashtags. It's hashtag Women in Learning, hashtag Will Pledge, and of course the event. And with the Trailblazers here, could you stand up here? And then if you want to take a picture of any or a section, just do that. And please put this out with your pledge, stating, thinking of the pledge, here's my pledge. Here's everybody. Where's Candace? Oh, thank you. Oh. Get up here, Esther.
No longer under 30.
Okay. All right, we're going to scooch on. Can you still see that? I want that to show. All right, ready, guys? All right, and my kids hate this. Can we do one goofy one? I just really love those. All right, so really just like go. All right, ready? Goofy, guys. All right, so thank you. I am going to share what we have for resources, but I would love you really jumped up and down if you could close out this topic. And we'll still be here afterwards if anyone wants to say the final words coming from Candace, who created the pledge. So where's our, I thought we had a prettier picture with that. But these are great books and resources. But can you just close us out with the one that Level Up? And
Yeah, I think it's been super cool to actually listen into some of the conversations and hearing all the feedback from everyone. This is just heart-filling stuff, because you can really feel the energy in the room around this. And I said to Sharon when we were doing the presentation that this is, for me, when you come to sessions like this, there has to be tangible action. What do I do? What do I go away and do? And I think that for me is the big moment that we're able to change narrative and we're able to move things forward. And so I have a bit of a mantra, personal mantra, and perhaps some of those things will connect in that you identified today in your conversations. It's a three-step. The first is level up. If you don't think people have confidence in you yet, or you don't think you can make an impact in a space yet, build your expertise, level up, work out what it is you need to know and own your space, find it. The second is keep up. Learning and development, the world, technology, society, it's a constantly moving beast, and you will never reach the end goal. You are always chasing it. So keep up. Don't get left behind. If you're standing still, you think you know it all, you think you've got it all, you're actually going backwards. So keep up with what's happening. And then the third thing is turn up. Thank you for turning up today. Because if you don't turn up, you can't make an impact. Be at the table, use your voice, say what you need to say, do what you need to do. And if you turn up, we're going to change the world.
so level up, keep up, turn up. And the 30 under 30s talk with their mouth, but walk with their feet. I don't know if I still got that right. All right, I'll get it. What? Talk with your feet. Okay. They don't talk with their mouth, they talk with their feet. Thank you. Now, sorry, it was killing me. If we're still being recorded, can I ask everyone that feels comfortable coming up here and us just saying Women in Learning, or hashtag Will Pledge, hashtag Women in Learning, so we can use that and ask that Learning Technology sends that out. So anyone that's comfortable, will you all come up to the stage? You guys stay there too. It's great. I hope this comes out right. I'll stand in the middle, try to get the noise. Sorry, this wasn't planned, but it's such a great moment seeing all the energy that we have here. And come on, you can go wherever you like.
Shall we move forward a little?
Sure.
Let's move forward.
Yes. Oh, yes, thank you. You know what? I would be nowhere without everybody that worked on this deck. Come on up. Come on, plenty of time. So we'll say hashtag Women in Learning and hashtag Will Pledge.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. On the count of 3. And nobody has to be goofy. This is all serious. 1, 2, 3. Hashtag Women in Learning. Hashtag Will